For the list this week, we're going to be working on welding up the intake tubes, and then once we get that done, we're going to start taking the transmission apart, see what we got going on inside, see what we're going to need to do to make everything happy for our setup. But first, we got to get everything welded up here. So I've got some tacks done, but other than that, honestly, I've never aluminum welded. And originally we thought about having somebody do it for us, but we figured we'd give it a shot and see what happens. And you know, it's one with these tubes, they are extremely apparent when the front clips off, when the hood's off, so we do want them to look really good, and we're hoping that we can pick up on it pretty quick and they turn out looking like a gem. So let's see what happens. So I'm obviously no pro aluminum welder, but there are a couple things that I know, and there's a couple things that I looked up and researched to figure out to make sure that I was on the right track. And the first being just the spot and the area that you're going to be welding. You want to make sure that it is nice and clean. So what we're utilizing is a Brillo pad, and we're scuffing that down to a shine, making sure that we got all the debris off of it. It's nice and clean. There's no glue or anything like that left behind. When it comes to the tungsten itself, we're utilizing a 1.5% lanthanated tungsten, purple in color. It's recommended to utilize a 2%, but this is what we have, and we believe it's going to be sufficient enough for us. So we'll see what happens here. When it comes to the tungsten itself, most of the time you're grinding this tip down to a point. For aluminum, you're going to grind it down to a point, and then you're going to flatten it off. So you're going to ball that tip off. It's probably tough to see here. I don't know if it'll pick up on that, but just a little bit different. Grind that to a point, and then you just, on that grinder, you just flatten it off. And then for our rod, we're just using an aluminum rod. As you can see here, nothing special. It's a little bit bigger than what I anticipated and what I planned, but once again, this is what we had, so this is what we're going to use. And we'll just heat it up just a little bit more, and hopefully we'll be able to weld a nice pretty bead there. So we'll see what happens. So that's a wrap on the intake tubes. We really happy with the way everything turned out. I know it's not $1 million weld or anything like that, but we did them ourselves, and we think they look pretty dang good, and we're happy with them. So that's all that matters. But really the only thing that we have left is to put these ends on it. So what you guys will notice, these are actually pieced. It's two pieces. When it's on the car, it's all one piece. I know that's kind of hard to get on the camera, but it's pretty well all one piece. And the reason this is pieced like this is because the car's going to move, the motor's going to torque, the chassis is going to do the same, and these things are also going to try and do the same thing as that car moves around. So instead of making this one whole piece, having this be one whole piece, and as that thing torques and moves, and there's potential for it to pop that V-band off the turbo side or the clamshell off the throttle body. So what this allows for is to allow it to flex and to prevent that. So we got these beautiful ends here that we still got to weld on. We got these from Larry Larson, and they're a beautiful product. They're rigid, they look great, and they're going to hold up to a lot of boost. Instead of us just throwing a bead roll around the end here and then throwing a rubber boot on it and some clamps, we got these nice, rigid, beautiful ends here from him, and it's going to hold up to a lot of boost. So you have one on this side and then one on this side, and then you'll throw that rubber on there and then clamp them together. So that'll be the next process on these, but we got to wait till we get the motor back in the car to ensure that we're cutting this at the proper length here, because obviously we're adding length by putting these on right now. So we got to get it all married up, throw those on, weld them up, and then they'll be done. Back to the weld portion, a couple things that I noticed as I was going through here. When you start to do these things, when you start to weld aluminum, they're obviously a lot cooler. The material, the aluminum itself is a lot cooler, especially this time of year. So as you begin welding, you're going to notice you got to turn your welder up quite a bit more, throw more amps at it to get it heated up and start melting it and getting that bead rolling. So as the aluminum starts to heat up, it's obviously a little bit more finicky, and there's more potential for you to start burning that hole in it. So just if you are welding aluminum, be prepared to turn that thing down a little bit as you progress throughout your weld and as you're continuing to lay a bead. Another thing that I noticed was ensuring that I kept everything moving. So the difference in my eyes, and I'm sure if you're a professional welder, you do this all the time, you know, and you've seen this before, but aluminum burns and opens up a lot quicker than stainless or anything like that. Now, my opinion is it's a lot easier to fix if it does open up, but you just got to be prepared and ready. Keep that thing moving and keep adding filler to it. On those butts, you'll notice on the joint, you'll notice that as you're going through there, it's starting to burn and open up. But if you keep moving it, it's going to drag that bead with it, and you keep throwing filler at it, she'll be fine and she'll close up just right. So keep moving, keep adding filler, and be prepared to adjust. The last thing that I want to note is on these ends, right? So as on these rounded ends, on these elbows, these 90s, 45s, whatever you got, up here on these joints where you got it cut and you're starting to weld, you'll notice it's a lot thinner. The material's a lot thinner on these rounded edges here. So when you're welding up here and you start to turn that corner, it may start to open up on you a little bit, right? So where you can throw more amps at it up here and get it a little bit hotter, it may not be able to take it up here at the top. So be prepared as you're turning that corner to either one, stop, let it cool down, or two, adjust that welder down and throw a few less amps at it. So be prepared. Those are a few things, like I said, once again, that I noted as I was going through here on this process. I'm happy with the way they turned out. We're excited to see the next process, which is either one, we're kind of in limbo if we're going to either one, polish them, or two, powder coat them. At first we were just going to powder coat them, now we're kind of back and forth, but we got time to figure that out, and we'll see. So we're excited to see what they look like when they are done though. So yeah, happy with the way it turned out. On to the next thing, let's get to it. Alright, I got a bad habit when I'm welding, when I'm TIG welding. I tend to take the rod as I'm readjusting and I'll put it in my mouth and then I'll go back to welding. And I can't believe I'm actually bringing this to y'all and embarrassing myself like this, but I took the rod and I flipped it around because I actually had it kind of ball up on one end, so I went to use the other, and I set it in my mouth there, and the next thing I knew, it was sizzling, and I kind of forgot. I guess I wasn't paying attention, and I'd actually put the hot end in my mouth, so I burnt my lip a little bit right there. Can you see it? I think you can see it. It didn't feel too good. It's kind of like I took that tube and threw it in a bucket of water when I put it in there. But be careful with that. And if you got any habits like that, just be aware, be prepared. It's gonna burn you. so sure if you saw that lifting technique, but this thing may just be heavier than the whole car put together. Remember, bend at the knees, utilize the legs, not the back. Time to start breaking this thing down, taking it apart. So we're going to take sections apart and we're going to see what we got going on internally, what gear sets we got, see if it's going to work, see if we need to change them, so on and so forth. And if you don't remember from one of our very first videos, this is a Lenco 3-speed CS1 transmission with the Bruno drive. Reason we went with Lenco is because we came across a deal. This transmission, the Bruno drive, a 4-speed, 2 torque converters, a Hurst shifter, and reverser. We sold all the other stuff that we didn't need, that we weren't going to use, and we came out somewhat close to even. So that's why you got a Lenco sitting in front of you right now, and I got a Lenco sitting in front of me right now. That's what we're going with. But like I said, we're going to start breaking it down, figure out everything that's going on inside, and then kind of go from there. We've done a little transmission work in the past, fixed some things, updated some things, changed some things here and there. We actually built a 6-speed Allison transmission on the black Duramax, but we've never done anything on Lencos before. So this is going to be somewhat new to us. But one thing that I do know is when you're building transmissions, you're doing anything to a transmission, everything that comes out goes right back in. Even if that means you're changing something, it's still the same process, the same sequence. The way it comes out, the way it goes back in. There's only one way. So take pictures, take videos, whatever you need to do to remember. But kind of still on that how-to rant right now, because that's the process that we're in. We're still working on stuff, so we would like to teach if we can whatsoever. But we're going to start getting to it and breaking this bad boy down. So let's rock and roll. I want to note a common practice when you're taking a transmission apart. You want to ensure that you're taking it apart setting upright, so where it's vertical. You'll notice here when I take it apart, you'll see everything kind of come out at once. And that's kind of what you want to avoid, because you don't necessarily know what's going to come out and how it comes out, where it comes out. Not only that, stuff could stick and it just could create a mess. I get pretty lucky here. Things come out all together, but with my setup and just from a video purpose, I was down there by myself at the time, and it just wasn't going to work out for me with the camera, and my table just was not sturdy enough, and I didn't want it to take a tumble off the top of the table while taking it apart. So you notice right here, I set it upright as a whole, and that's kind of how you really want to start taking things apart if you're breaking down a transmission. time she said food would be ready?
About 10 after 11. She said she was on a call.
10 after 11?
Yeah. And she said she was
on a call. You're going to have to pull on one.
There it is.
And this is going to go here. This is going to go here. And then that is going to line up with the holes on there.
Let's see what we got here. Should be here, like there. See
right,
that?
Right. But you're also here too.
Yeah, we'll stick it on there with some grease.
And there's only one way it's going to be able to go. You're just going to have to find it. Where's there two of them? Right here.
I think you flopped it.
Boom.
Yeah, you're right. Here you go. Now that's for you. That didn't hurt that any. It didn't break it either way.
Let me turn this table.
Yeah.
Just turn it because you're standing.
Ouch! You still got to do it that way to get this off.
Alright, voila, so it's all back together here. You know, y'all saw the process of us taking it apart, but we ran into not necessarily a roadblock, but some speed bumps. We knew when we started taking this apart, we knew when we bought it that we were actually going to have to change everything from coarse to fine spline. But started crunching numbers, and you know, it just got to be a little bit too much, so we felt that the best route would be to take a different route. So we just threw it all back together so we could get it up for sale as quickly as possible. So we got the Lenco 3-speed with the Bruno drive, the 2 torque converters, the blanket, and then the reverse shifter. So if when this video rolls out, you know, if it's still available, reach out, put in the comment section, and you know, we can work something out. But it's a great setup, capable of upwards of 2,000 plus horse with the Bruno in it. So you know, it's a situation, one of those things that you can kind of see. You know, we've been going through this process, and it seems to take a while, and you know, there's a lot of work to be done, and you know, we want just as much as you do to roll something out with some cool content of some vehicles running and the car running, the Camaro itself. But this is a part of the process, and it's just one of those situations, one of those little speed bumps that does set us back a little bit, but long run we feel that it's going to be for the best. So you take it in stride, and we're going to keep rolling. We think we're going to go the Turbo 400 route this time, but we're going to keep rolling with the rest of the process. And then once we get to that point, we'll make that purchase and get it in the car. So we're excited to be able to unwrap a new transmission and throw it in the car. But once again, just a little bit of a setback. And you know, we can see that finish line. We're getting there, but we're going to keep trucking. It's yeah, it's just one of those situations. You live and you learn. You can let it get to you, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna take that process and run with it. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes, once again, you just learn. So that's where we're at. And yeah, stick with us. Stay tuned. If you want a transmission, this thing's still available. Hit us up, and we'll go from there. So y'all thought we were gonna leave you hanging. I'm pulling in right now, and we got a surprise for y'all. And a surprise for myself. Something that came in, a really big item, really fun item, came in yesterday, and I'm coming home now to the shop, and we're gonna get it unwrapped. We've been waiting on it. It probably seems a lot longer than it actually was, but I feel like it's been a month or two since we ordered this, and been waiting on it. Really, honestly, at the end of the day, right now,
at this moment. We really can't do a heck of a lot with it, but we needed to have it here, especially being racing season is upon us, and we want to get it in as quick as we can because we know a lot of people are buying parts right now, and sometimes things can get backed up. So I'm pulling in right now, and I'm gonna hop out of the truck. It's raining a bit, so we're gonna get down to the shop and we're gonna start unwrapping this thing. Surprise, surprise. I think it pretty well gives it away. Well, what's on the box already? If you can't read that, it says Rosner. So this is the treat we have. We're gonna start opening her up. I think you probably slide it off dang here. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's plywood under.
I don't know. Made it all worth it. You get yourself a t-shirt too. Honestly, never really thought that this would be sitting here right now, to be honest with you. Kind of thought we were pretty well set on what we got, but I'm excited to have this, that's for dang sure. So this is a 3-speed Rosner transmission. It's a Supermax. The beautiful thing about this Supermax is I actually have the option to be able to swap out the tail and the bell, and I can run a lockup in this. So I got two options, pretty simple change, obviously a different converter, but for the most part, it's just swap and play, and we have the option to run lockup. So with this, and we knew this is kind of why we sat here and pondered on if this is a route we wanted to take, just due to the fact that there are going to be some pretty extreme changes that are going to have to take place to the car. The first one being, yeah, I'm giving some stuff away here by walking by the car with the body on it, but our cross member is going to hit the pan. So, unfortunately, what's going to take place is that is going to have to get cut out, and we're going to have to come up with a configuration to make it work, meet spec, and all that good stuff. So, I feel comfortable with being able to weld it and do it myself, but we want to ensure that it is done right and meets that spec. So we're actually got Ty back in the loop, and he is on board. And once we get this thing to a state where we're ready, we're gonna take it up there, and he's gonna make this thing happen. I think I have all the confidence in him in the world, obviously, but the only concern that I have is just with the powder coat stuff, being it's already powder coated. But you know, that's the least of the worries at the end of the day, honestly. So we have the baddest transmission money could buy going into this thing right now. So we're super excited about it, and you know, it is kind of a stressful environment with the whole having to change that cross member in there and cut into the finished chassis, especially this far along. But man, we're not going to give up, and we're going to keep rocking and rolling, and we're going to make this thing happen. And you know, stopping now doesn't get us anywhere. So there she is, man. That thing's a beaut. It's exciting. Right on. Hopefully before too long we'll have this thing in the car. But yeah, there it is. And we'll be videoing some of the stuff in regards to later down the road when we go to start putting this thing in and getting everything fit back up. We'll video all that for the most part. Just really probably just plan on dropping it off and just coming up with a plan with Ty and letting him work with it. And it'll give us a little free time to do some other things and catch up on some other things. But yeah, we're going to stick with it. We're going to keep rocking and rolling on this thing. And, you know, it's part of it, man. It's part of life. It's part of working on these cars. Is not everything's going to always go your way, but, you know, it is what it is. We're going to roll with the tide, and we're going to make it happen. I got to give a big shout out to these guys for hooking us up. Man, they got this thing turned around quick, and for the transmission that it is, it came in extremely quick. I know, you know, we waited, I don't even think it was much over a month to get this thing in, and, you know, we weren't even in a rush. So, you know, we get to give a shout out to these guys. I mean, I guess I shouldn't necessarily say we weren't in a rush. I mean, the sooner the better, obviously. And they worked with us with everything. I mean, you know, we kind of let them just run with it. Obviously, this motor is going to be a torque monster. And from a gear perspective, there's kind of some questions that we had. And, you know, I have all the trust in the world with these guys. I mean, they're top notch. And their customer service is just as good. So, you know, there was a lot of questions that I asked that were probably silly questions, and they didn't blink an eye, and they answered everything that I had, and, you know, they really hooked us up. And like I said, things came in quick. It is beautiful, as y'all can see. It is a beautiful transmission, and, you know, they're top notch. So I have no doubt that this thing is going to perform as good as their customer service is. So we are excited to get it in. Look these guys up. I know if you're interested in the automotive world, the motorsports world whatsoever, you know the name, and you are not going to be disappointed. So you're not going to be disappointed with the product nor the customer service, and I can't stress that enough. So huge shout out to Rosner and their team. We are blessed to have this transmission going in our hot rod. So give them a shout. And guys and gals, don't forget to subscribe. Like, all you got to do to subscribe is click this little red button down here in the bottom right hand of your screen there. Well, it may be on this side. I'm not 100% sure. One of these two sides, that little red button's there. So click that, hit the notification, like, all that good stuff. And so God bless. Thank you guys for tuning in.